Thousands of demonstrators have been gathering outside the European Parliament to call for tougher action against Iran. The demonstrations follow a spate of executions, including the hanging of a British-Iranian citizen who was accused of spying. And these came after widespread protests following the death in custody of a young woman. As a result, there have been calls for more sanctions against Iran. So what sanctions are already in place and what might follow? I've been talking to Jason Brodsky, director of the Washington, D.C.-based pressure group United Against Nuclear Iran.
Well, the United States maintains a very robust sanctions architecture which focuses on economic sectoral sanctions on its oil and gas sector, its petrochemical sector, its steel sector, and other critical areas of the economy. There are also sanctions on Iran's support for terrorism. There are sanctions on Iran's ballistic missile and drone proliferation. And last and certainly not least, there are sanctions on Iran's human rights abuses.
Iran's exports of oil did go up in December, despite the energy sector being subject to sanctions.
They did, and that is a sanctions enforcement issue. I think that the Biden administration needs to be much more aggressive in enforcing the sanctions that have been already on the books. China is engaging in illicit oil transactions with the Islamic Republic, and those transactions have not been fully enforced in terms of the existing U.S. sanctions architecture. So I think that Washington needs to do a better job at policing that along with its allies.
There have been growing calls in recent weeks after the crackdown on protests by many women across Iran and also of various executions for further sanctions to be imposed on Iran. Do you think that is likely?
I think so. I think we are seeing really a sea change, especially in Europe. If we were talking in early September, I would have been complaining to you that the United Kingdom and the European Union had only levied sanctions a couple of times on Iran since 2013. But fast forward to today, there have been several consecutive sanctions package in just over the matter of a few months on the Islamic Republic. And so I know that the United Kingdom is strongly considering prescribing the IRGC as a terrorist organization. That is something that it is long overdue and it should do. The United States has already sanctioned the IRGC as a terrorist organization, and so that would ensure harmonization with the existing U.S. counterterrorism measures.
The sanctions against Iran and Russia are incredibly wide-ranging and incredibly tough, yet they haven't worked if the point of sanctions is to change behavior.
Well, I think that some would argue that the point of the sanctions is to deprive the regime of resources to bring them to the negotiating table. And so that is what is a key Western objective with respect to both Iran and Russia. And these sanctions programs don't happen overnight. The effects have to accumulate over a significant period of time that could take years.
Jason,